My teacher said I couldn't leave even if the building was on fire, so I tested her theory. I was 15 when I learned that evil doesn't always look like a movie villain. Sometimes it's a 60-year-old teacher named Ms. Pickleberry who spent 4 decades perfecting psychological warfare. And out of 40 kids in her study hall, she chose me as her personal project. Could have been my nervous fidgeting or the unforgivable crime of asking for a bathroom pass on day 3. Or maybe she just needed someone to torment, and I'd made myself an easy target by sitting in the front row. "Johnson!" she'd bark at least 3 times per class, making everyone in the room jump. "Stop that infernal pencil tapping." The infuriating part was that it was actually the kid sitting behind me doing the tapping. But when I tried to explain this obvious fact, she'd screech, "Don't talk back." Then came her next complaint. "Your breathing is too loud," she'd snap 5 minutes later, because existing was apparently offensive. When I tried holding my breath to avoid her wrath, she'd immediately yell, "Stop turning purple, you're being dramatic." Last Monday was when I learned just how far she'd go. I made the fatal error of raising my hand to ask if I could go to the nurse for my insulin. I'm type 1 diabetic, which the school knew perfectly well since there was literally a medical plan on file with my picture stapled to it. Missy Pickleberry knew this too, but that didn't stop her from making an example of me. "Absolutely not," she snarled, loud enough for all 40 kids in the room to hear clearly. "Nobody leaves my study hall for any reason whatsoever. Nobody. Not for the nurse, not for the bathroom, not even for the principal himself." She walked over to my desk, leaning in close enough that I could smell her coffee breath mixing with whatever had died in her soul years ago. "The building could be on fire, Johnson, and you will sit in that chair until I dismiss you or the bell rings. You don't move until I say you move, and that's final. Do you understand?" But my blood sugar is— I said, "Do you understand?" I slumped in my chair. "Yes, Ms. Pickleberry." She turned to address the entire class, her voice dripping with authority. "Good, and that goes for everyone in this room. You stay seated until I dismiss you." But Thursday burned it all down. I was working on calculus when smoke hit my nostrils. Not the sweet vape smell kids usually got caught with. This was real smoke, and I could see it wisping under the door. My hand shot up instinctively. "Ms. Pickleberry, hand down, Johnson." "But there's—" She cut me off. "I don't care if your arm falls off from gangrene. Hand down." The smoke was getting obvious now. Kids started murmuring. Then one girl finally yelled out, "Ms. Pickleberry, I think there's smoke coming in. The next person who speaks gets detention for a month, and I'll make sure you serve every minute of it." That's when the fire alarm erupted. Everyone jumped up instinctively, grabbed their bags, and started moving toward the door. "Sit down!" Mr. Pickleberry screamed over the alarm, her face turning an alarming shade of purple. "That's probably just a drill, and I didn't get any memo about it." The announcement system crackled to life through the shrieking alarm. "This is not a drill. Please evacuate immediately. There is an electrical fire in the south wing. All students and staff must evacuate immediately." Ms. Pickleberry's face went through about 6 different emotions in 3 seconds, landing on frustrated panic. She clearly hated being proven wrong, but even she wasn't insane enough to keep 40 kids in a burning building. Well, not intentionally anyway. "Fine, everyone out, single file, no running." She started herding kids toward the door like angry sheep, counting heads and shoving stragglers forward. "Move it, move it!" The smoke was getting thicker now, and kids were coughing and pushing through the doorway. Mr. Pickleberry stood at the door, pushing the last few students out into the hallway, then followed them out and pulled the door shut behind her with a definitive slam. She never looked back, never did a final head count, and definitely never noticed the kid still sitting at his desk in the front row. I sat there in the smoky classroom, weirdly calm about the whole situation. The fire alarm continued shrieking while smoke hung in the air like fog at a terrible concert. I pulled my shirt up over my nose, genuinely unbothered. If the smoke took me out, at least my obituary would be hilarious. Local teen dies following directions. About 5 minutes later, heavy boots stomped down the hallway. The door burst open and a firefighter in full gear stood there, staring at me through his mask like I'd grown a second head. "Kid, what the hell are you doing?" I looked up from my desk, completely deadpan. "Following orders, sir." He pulled off his mask, revealing a face caught between confusion and fury. "Are you insane? The building's being evacuated." "Yes, sir, I heard the announcement, but Mr. Pickleberry specifically told me Monday that I cannot leave this room even if the building is on fire." The firefighter dragged me out despite my protests about violating orders. On the field, Ms. Pickleberry grabbed my arm. "You think you're so clever, don't you?" The firefighter immediately intervened. She never came back after that day. Between 40 witnesses confirming her "stay seated even if there's fire" demand and actually abandoning me during an evacuation, she was done. They termed it gross negligence and child endangerment. The new teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, kept it simple on his first day. When there's fire, we evacuate. Unlike some people, I'm not trying to kill students.